This podcast may feature adult language and opinions on sensitive topics.
Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Making a Musician podcast. I, like always, am Dane. And today I will be speaking with Indianapolis locals Brandon Stuck and Adam Loellke from the band Pickwick Commons. We'll be talking about their writing process, their recording process, and what it's like to be on tour. Stick around to the end to hear one of their tracks off of their 2019 release, Weak Bones.
Oh, Jesus.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
You guys are probably wondering why I gathered you here today.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know?
I got a brief overview, but I have no idea what that means.
Okay, so basically, I want to say since 2016, I've had this idea of wanting to do an interview thing or a podcast interview where I talk to local bands or bands that I know about, why they're in a band, why they're doing what they're doing, just who they are, trying to, I guess, put a little bit more of a person behind the face of the band. You know what I'm talking about? Because, yeah, a lot of the times, whenever you guys come through, whenever I see you, people know you guys, but people don't, I guess, know. Because, you're not like Whitechapel, Devil Wears Prada, big-ass bands getting big-ass interviews all the time. So I think it's only fair that somebody gives you guys a chance to, talk a little bit about yourselves and, just make you guys seem like real people, because I think you guys are. I think you're real people.
You're gonna be disappointed. Fake. We're fake.
Well, all right then. Thanks for the interview.
I mean, that would be a really good one. 30-second interview.
I don't think we're gonna do that. I think, because okay, so I know you guys did one of the digital tour bus a while ago, right?
Yeah, we did actually. Wes and I were the ones on that.
Yeah. They sent a Warped Tour press list, who's gonna be at every date, to every band that was on the tour, right? Or if you were even on one day, they sent you this press list. So we scrolled through who was going to be at Chicago and Indianapolis, and we found him. We emailed him, and he said, sure. So, and because Brandon had built that out, it made sense for him and Wes to do it, hang out with him.
That's cool. When was that? What year was that?
2 years ago? It was the last Warped Tour.
It was the final Warped Tour.
Final Warped Tour. Rest in peace.
Yeah, seriously.
Final full Warped Tour.
Okay. Then we'll have you two introduce yourselves real quick.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm from Pickwick Commons. I'm the vocalist. Long time ago, I was the guitarist, but we like to not talk about that.
I'm Brandon, and I play drums in Pickwick Commons.
And he does all the production.
Yeah, and I do all of our recording and production.
Yep.
Okay, and you two have both been in the band since the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the last two original members, I guess.
The last and only two.
Yeah. OG.
When did Pickwick start?
I think it was the end of 2013, going into 2014 was the first rehearsal as a full band, and Brandon has a home studio, and while we didn't expect to do this, after running a song a couple times, he just sat us down in the room and said, okay, we're tracking that demo, and we recorded a single literally the first practice.
Yeah, but I don't think we formally were much of a band or had any I don't think we really put out a song that we were cool with till maybe 2015.
Yeah, I think that second single from way back in the non-existent metalcore days, Broken by the Wheel came out at the end of 2014, which is a song we don't play anymore, and we were pretty happy with it, especially at the time.
Yeah.
And that all went on for a while. It was the end of 2016, though, where we had settled into a lineup and recorded and put out something that's still out today and became kind of a serious full-time band.
Yeah.
And that was the short-lived EP.
Yeah, because I kind of met you guys like right after Adam, you switched to vocals, right? That was the first time you guys came to Kansas City.
Yeah, because we played the Sandbox before. I mean, we played it a couple times before it closed. We did play.
I think we played twice.
Yeah, we played at the technical last time that place was ever open, which there might be some arguments within the KC scene about it, because they had like the local scene had their last show ever.
And then we played there like a few days later.
And then the guy gave up the keys, so technically we get final dibs on that. But yeah, we came through to the Sandbox, and we had brought on Colin, who's our short ginger guitarist.
He was a fill-in guitarist at the time of our first Kansas City show where we met you, I think. But then after that tour, we asked him if he would step in full time.
Yeah, and I'd only done vocals for like, I don't know, 4 weeks prior to the tour. I'd done a few like backup vocals live, but there was never like a rehearsed or like recorded thing.
Wow.
So it was just kind of, do we want to give a random person the microphone, or would we rather just take good care of it ourselves and give a random person a guitar?
Yeah.
Worked out. He was a better guitarist than me, so it worked out in every which way. It's a little disappointing, though, because he's also a better vocalist than me.
Oh, no.
I'm the second best vocalist in Pickwick Commons. Some might say the third because Wes can sing now.
Hey, I think you have a more consistent live vocal sound than Colin, though. Colin, when we go in to record, Colin's really quick and on it. Like, we can do, like, 1 or 2 takes on everything, and he's just done. Like, he's really quick at it. But we have noticed live, his vocal sound will change completely different, like, totally night and day difference. So
he's gotten better at that.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
Especially with the exercises, the vocal exercises everyone's been doing in the band. But yeah, it's interesting to have so many people doing vocals.
Did you guys I guess either of you two do music before Pickwick?
I went to rock and roll band camp because my mom said I had to go to camp, and I was done with the Boy Scouts. So I went to rock and roll band camp, and that was the first time I ever recorded and the first time I wrote songs with a group. But that was like, a week in the summer. It's actually funny because that's where I met the other original guitarists that ended up doing that first single all the way back in the day with all of us. So technically, band camps helped start Pickwick Commons. But that was that was it for me.
Yeah. I had a little bit more, like, I guess, musical background before starting the band. And same with Colin and Wes, we kind of all have a very similar story, just with different instruments, I guess. I did like concert band, and like orchestra through high school. Colin did that as well, so did Wes. And then Colin and I both had also a little more experience. I think we did jazz in high school as well. I don't think Wes did, but Colin and Wes both ended up studying music their first year or two of college as well, and they were doing a lot of like classical training and stuff, which I did not like continue music performance in college. I went to college and I started doing just a production degree, which I think helped me a lot more than a music performance degree would have. But I mean,
yeah,
we all had quite a bit of more like, I guess, formal training with theory and stuff coming into it. Most of the theory I've forgotten because I as a drummer don't really use much of it beyond like the rhythmic theory. But Colin and Wes, they've still got it all like really well.
Yeah, and Wes played in a local death metal band called
Oh,
Into
that's
the
right.
Divine.
Yeah, and Colin did play in a pop punk band. That was like his project in like early high school as well. And that was actually how I met Colin. I think formally was that I like recorded his band.
Yeah, he had
at
a
my
few,
house.
right?
Yeah, he had like 2 little projects going on. He had I don't even know what the other one's genre was, but he had a pop punk band and another like slightly heavier band, and I recorded both of those. And then I was like, dang, this guy's really solid on guitar and can play to a metronome, and cares about music a lot. So I was like, dang, like this might be a solid add to the band. And I mean, of course, he laughed at us because we were playing like stupid metalcore.
Yeah, he was really a hardcore punk kid, so he was not very.
Not really into what we were doing, but he offered to, fill in on that tour. And then after we added him to the band, I think that brought a whole new writing dynamic into play that we couldn't necessarily achieve with the combination of people we had before. But now we've got so many different influences coming in to make the band. It's really changed a lot because Adam's got his own writing style, Colin's got his writing style, and Adam still writes a lot of guitar or comes up with guitar ideas or song ideas, even though he's not the guitarist of the band. And Colin and me and Wes and Adam will just go back and forth, and like that's how we come up with our ideas. And so you've got Wes from the death metal background and Colin from the hardcore punk background, and Adam and I from different like metalcore backgrounds, kind of more traditional metalcore backgrounds, kind of bringing all that to make one project, and it's kind of unique.
Yeah, the current lineup definitely has a super unique sound. Because I know there's a lot of people who want to call it hardcore, but there's a lot of songs or motifs that you guys do that don't necessarily fall into the hardcore category.
Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, some people will say hardcore, some people will say metalcore. We get some people that are like progressive metal. They just think we're progressive metal because we do so many weird time signatures and whatnot. But I mean, whatever it is that we are, we're cool with it. We like what we're doing.
Yeah, if it's a metalcore kid and he likes us, he thinks we're a really good hardcore band. And if it's a hardcore kid and they like us, they think we're pretty okay for metalcore.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Or or they don't like us. So.
Do you want to talk about any of the like original era of Pickwick, or do you guys just want to focus on your current stuff? What do you guys define as Pickwick as it is now?
Probably just the current stuff. I mean, we pretty much touched on the history already.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a long time of us being in our first real band and trying to figure out how to do things and not really knowing how to do things. So it was just, it was like a 3-year period of us educating ourselves and doing DIY tours and learning each time.
Yeah.
That really helped inform how we released our last few things.
Yeah.
And that's why each release is done better than the last, and show turnouts are better.
I think we learned everything the hard way, and we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Because that's the best way to learn something.
It would have been nice if some adult or someone in the local scene had come to us and just said, hey, stop doing this way, do it this way, because you're going to learn over spending way too much money on the road playing shows that aren't as good as they could be. So we definitely at least got a trial by fire, and the fact that we're still trucking after those early years, I think speaks a lot to our motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, while it was not always like financially easy to learn the hard way or whatever, those lessons have definitely stuck with us, and I think through a lot of anger and frustration and whatnot have made us also a tighter group and get along get along, and it's created a different dynamic. You know, like we kind of, it's like y'all suffer together, and it's a weird way to bond, but kind of, if that makes sense, it brought us together in a way too. Yeah, if we had learned the right way, we probably would have went on a lot less tours, but those tours have brought a lot of unique experiences and memories that we wouldn't have otherwise made.
Yeah, and if we hadn't done
Absolutely.
those original tours, we wouldn't have met, well, you for one, and the entire Kansas City scene that we know,
Yeah,
because those early shows, and then playing like Bubba Spins, Flophouse, those all kind of made us some tight-knit friends over there. So
yeah. I
It-
mean, yeah, we would have never met the Zion guys
yeah,
or
whatever iteration Patrick's on, funeral singer, Patrick Pettigrew.
Patrick Pettigrew. We would have never met him.
Yeah,
Sam, of course, not in a band, but cool friend.
Shout out. Cool. So where do you guys define like current Pickwick? Where do you think that would have started? During short-lived or?
Well, the lineup was definitely short-lived. That was, I think, right when I think we had Wes fill in on a tour, but were we playing those songs or?
no, we just had Friends and Family, and then we were playing a version of Hypocrite,
That's right.
a real older version of Hypocrite, that's on our most recent record, but this was like 3 or so years before it came out. And then were we playing? I don't know. We were playing some weird stuff. It was kind of a mix between eras, and we were still figuring out what our sound was. Because we had a single that Wes played bass on, but it wasn't like it was before Short Lived, and it wasn't quite our sound yet.
Yeah.
And that's still available, but only on Bandcamp, because we never bothered to
Uploaded.
put it elsewhere.
So if you're listening and you're trying to find weird music, I think go to our Bandcamp.
Yeah, that was the last bit of riffy metalcore
Yeah.
that we did.
Otherwise, our really old music, I think, is mostly offline, but I'm sure you could dig hard enough.
I was gonna say, just message me. I have a physical release of everything you guys have.
There you go. Wait, do you have our cassette?
No, I don't have the cassette, but
Okay,
I do have.
That we have some.
Yeah, ship it to me for sure. I'll take it.
We'll get you one.
I'll give you $5.
Hell yeah, that's a good deal. $5. Yeah, we're sitting on some really old cassettes, but we won't sell them to you unless you really beg us and annoy us. And at that point, we might just give it to you because we feel bad about how bad the music is. Anyway,
Short-lived.
yeah, short-lived. I think is really the new, was kind of like the new era. Especially, it was definitely the new lineup that we're currently in. I don't know if all of those songs fully. I mean, we still open every set with Scum, which may change at some point. We've talked about changing it, but also that song just really goes hard,
And people know
and
it.
people know it. So if we're playing a city that we've got like a decent following in, we've got people there that know us, and then a group of people that also don't know us. And if we can open up with a super hard riff and people just going nuts and knowing every word, that sets the tone for our set for all the people that don't know us to like pay attention or
Yeah,
whoa,
it's
what
not-
am I missing out on? Everyone knows this.
It's not time to go smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, that basically that, not like, oh, I'm gonna go outside and smoke and not watch this band or whatever. They're like, whoa, everyone knows this, or people are really into this and know the words, so I'm gonna check this out at least a little bit. So
And that was the first time we had Wes doing backup vocals as well. So when we finally started doing 3 vocalists, it was short-lived, which has, I think, been one of the more standout parts of our sound, is 3 distinct vocalists.
Yeah, you get some super cool melodies. Is that the word? Harmonies? I don't
well,
know. With screams, it's weird.
like layers, you know.
There you go.
Layers and like I guess you could say flavors, kind of, you know, just so
Yeah,
many
for sure.
tones and ranges going on. It really makes it interesting. I also almost always, if there's like two vocals going on at the same time, or two vocals like going back and forth with like alternating lines with each other, I'll actually pan them like in the mix, like a little bit right ear, the other person left ear, just to like make that even more obvious. You might not notice it while you're listening, but it helps you kind of process it differently if you're hearing it from different ears. One ear stronger than another. So, I don't know. I try to utilize, you know, even in mixing, just setting them apart as much as possible.
Awesome. So Short-Lived was all four of you guys currently now, right? So when did the writing process for that one start?
That was. It's funny because that EP I think got completely written front to back. In like a very, very short time.
We were working on a different EP with longer songs, and some of those songs ended up on the record or in different places. But I think it was Colin had the idea to do a split, or I don't remember who had the idea.
We ended up, we were like, oh, we're gonna do a split EP. Colin suggested, he's like, let's do a split EP with Old Poet. They asked me to join their band, and I never ended up joining, and I feel bad. So let's just do a split with them. And we at the time did not know Old Poet, but they were doing really well locally. They were playing a lot of good shows, and like people were like coming out to see them, and it was like kind of exciting for them. So we were like, well, hopefully they want to do a split with us. So I offered like, hey, I'll record you guys and let's just make it a split. And they were like, cool, if we can record, you know, for free, then why not? So we did the split EP with them, and we actually ended up becoming really good friends with all those guys through the process, which is cool. And when the split came out, their vocalist like quit showing up to stuff and basically quit the band at the same time that we were releasing the split. So the release tour didn't go too well, and their van broke down.
Yeah.
But yeah, the split ended up being like a super quick, almost last minute feeling project in a way, but we weren't like, it didn't feel like we had skipped on it though. It felt like good music. It felt like us for the time. And I'm still like proud of the split. It doesn't sound good, but
we got the remix out.
That sounds okay. It sounds fine. Nothing matters. The new EP that we're working on right now, I think, is the best sounding mixes we've had yet.
Yeah, it's technically not an EP, but we're in the process of.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's technically not, but it really is in the same sense. But we have a bunch of new singles that are all gonna come out separately. We'll probably put out a physical version of them all together just so we have something for people. But we've been working on these songs since Colin started writing some of them while we were in the progress to release Weak Bones, which is the record that came out last year.
Yeah.
So
he started a few and then was like, I'm going to send you some music I'm working on. I was like, I am not listening to that yet. Slow down. But no, the stuff he started working on, yeah, we fully expanded on it. And the songs are basically done now minus vocals.
Yeah, and we've finished a few of them on vocals, but there's still a few more to do. Doing some edits on one today after we're done chatting.
Yeah, Colin and Wes are going to be over here in about an hour-ish, and we're going to be chugging along on more new music. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited. So what is there anybody, maybe like a bigger band or even just between you guys, anything that kind of pushed you into the sound that you are now, or did it just kind of naturally happen?
I think there's probably a band per person
Yeah.
that directly influences a lot of choices. more primarily for Colin and Brandon, I think, because they handle the majority of the music writing and the arrangements.
Or at least the rewriting.
Yeah, so while I might contribute a riff or Wes comes up with a part, as a whole, it's Brandon and Colin bouncing ideas off each other and rewriting stuff. So I'd leave that up to you two.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think Colin listens to a lot of more older, original metalcore, hardcore, Converge, and he listens to a lot of mathy stuff.
Dillinger,
Escape Plan is a big one. For me, I came from a totally different background. I came up on like Texas in July, August Burns Red, Devil Wears Prada stuff, which was definitely like straight up metalcore. And I still love that stuff today. And then I kind of morphed into more of the like kind of still on the metalcore side, but it's got a more modern metalcore, hardcore influence like Kublai Khan, Burials, some bands like that. And I kind of take a lot of stuff. I basically take some of Colin's maybe old school riff ideas and figure out how to modernize them with all of my influences, or modernize drum parts or transitions even. I don't know. I don't know if I could pinpoint any singular bands we vibe off of, but those are kind of maybe examples of the eras or sounds that Colin and I get our stuff, our influences from, and that's just the music side of it. As far as vocals go, I mean, Colin writes a decent amount of vocals, and I assume all of his ideas come from that era. And then Adam, who does a ton of the vocal writing and rewriting and stuff, he comes from a totally different era than both of Colin. Colin definitely a little bit off of mine.
I mean, we could even go further back, and I could ask you guys, like what actually got you into hardcore metalcore music in general.
Probably the Madden 2006 soundtrack for PlayStation 2, featuring just alternative bands, some weird ones, and some normal ones. So like, fucking Avenged Sevenfold and Bullet for My Valentine are on there. That's like the first time I heard a screamed vocal, and I was like, hey, that's kind of cool. This gets me jacked. And then it was a very long period of time before I started my descent into what was on Warped Tour in whichever year, and then even longer before I got into some more hardcore bands. What got me into hardcore specifically would be Stick to Your Guns, and seeing them live. They did a tour with Story So Far, Such Gold, and Rotting Out, and that was probably the kicker for me, as far as that genre goes.
For me, I think I didn't really have any hand in. I didn't find it myself. I was like just learning to play drum set at the time, and then a friend of mine who was like he was our original bassist. He I think I might have been like 7th or 8th grade, maybe. I think 7th grade. I could be wrong. He showed me. He's like, "Oh, if you're becoming a drummer, you should check this out." And he showed me I think it was August Burns Red, As I Lay Dying, and The Devil Wears Prada, all in one day. He's like, "You just should listen to these drums. These are so crazy." And I was listening to it, and I was like, I could not figure out in my head how it was physically possible to play the parts I was hearing. And obviously I understand it all now, but as someone just picking up drums, I was blown away. There's no way I'm ever going to be able to do anything like this. This is so crazy. So I just started listening to it for the drums, and I just loved how aggressive and fast and crazy it was. Then I think maybe the following, maybe 7 or 8 months later, when I had started to totally dive into it, he was like, "We got to go to Warped Tour together." And and we were so young that we couldn't drive. His dad drove us, and I remember like we were really. I don't remember the year, but I know August Burns Red, Devil Wears Prada, Acacia Strain, and Attack were all on Warped Tour together.
Jesus, it's like gotta be 2010.
Yeah, it was
2011.
it was a solid year. I was so excited, and yeah, we started the day by going like to the main stage, and Attack was playing first, and it's like as soon as they came out and started their set, like the pitch just opened up and it was wild, and I was like, dang, this is. If I was already pretty sure that was like everything I wanted, but after like seeing Warped Tour and everything, I was like, this is what I want to be a part of. This is what I want to do. You know, like there's nothing like that.
It's a really good gateway drug into the local scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that I might be wrong here, but I think I've seen you guys before I actually met you, like playing outside of Warped Tour.
Oh yeah. No, that was
the
day after we played the Sandbox.
Yeah, the first time we ever
Okay.
played the city. After we played the Sandbox, the next morning, our tour date dropped for the day. So instead of just driving towards the next city and having nothing to do all day, Warped Tour was in Kansas City. So we went and passed out stickers in the parking lot all morning, waited all afternoon for basically Warped Tour to start to trickle down and for people to trickle out at the end of the day, and we found a plug out in the parking lot.
Just literally an outlet sticking out of the ground.
Yeah, and we had brought a PA with us on the tour because just like 2 speakers enough to handle vocals, because we knew we were playing Sandbox and needed our own PA, or some other venue that we needed a PA for. Very DIY. And we set up the PA in the parking lot and literally just played while people walked out from the Bonner Springs, Kansas City area Warped Tour.
Yeah, it was actually really funny because our second song, I hit my face on our bassist's studded belt and wireless pack, and I was bleeding out of my eye and could not see. And we played the set like 4 times straight in a row just because people were still leaving.
Yeah, and between songs, Adam would like run over to our merch table and like sell people T-shirts, and then run back and we'd start another song.
Yeah.
It was totally like unprofessional in every way.
It's fucking dedicated though.
And we were just trying to grind so hard. And interestingly enough, that was the day I met what's his name from the guy that we did the other podcast with.
Oh, James.
Hang on, why is his name?
I just talked to him the other day. Is it James Cross?
Yeah, James Cross. We ended up meeting a guy who was on Warped Tour. I think he was working with PETA or something. He'd be able to tell me. I'm sorry, I forgot, James, if you hear this. But he met us in the parking lot, was like, guys, I really respect the grind. Like, and I became Facebook friends with him. And he now runs like a really cool DIY, basically, band resource page through Facebook called the Better Band Bureau. And he does like podcasts, video interviews. He talks to all sorts of really cool people, and he's pretty well connected. But it's just funny because like everywhere we go, we've got a random different person, you know, that we know. So yeah, we met him in Kansas City, and now he lives in
Burlington, Vermont.
He lives in Vermont somewhere. I think he lives outside of Burlington.
That's okay.
Either way, you know, like, and then when we went to Vermont last year, we like finally like reconnected with him and did an interview. So like it's just interesting to see where you meet and connect all these people from. But yeah, that was us outside Warped Tour way long ago. I don't remember what year that was. You could probably check.
2016 or 2015.
Yeah.
Because that was the year we put out the record that will not be named.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez. What a great time.
That's awesome. And you guys have gone on like countless tours since then, right?
Yeah, we did in 2017 because we released Short-Lived on December 30th, 2016. So in 2017, we did over 100 days on the road, but we started in May
Yeah,
when I graduated college and they were all
dropping out of college.
well, yeah, they were all going. They
going-
switched to online college from actually attending, and we did just tour after tour after tour, and we definitely overdid it a little bit. I think we got really close to burning out as a band.
But I'm not mad.
Yeah, because that first tour we launched that summer with, the Get Harder Go Home tour, which is still the best named tour we've had.
Yeah, truly.
Uh,
That tour was awesome.
yeah, that tour averaged like 70 kids a night because several of the dates were just so packed out that the smaller dates didn't matter.
Yeah,
And
that tour was amazing. We did play Kansas City on that tour.
yeah, that was the time we played Aftershock to
But
like
it was
80
good.
kids,
Yeah,
and
it was a good Aftershock show
it was
for being a local lineup.
Zion's last vocalist, Nathan.
It was his last show.
Yeah.
Their original vocalist.
Yeah, and Patrick Pettigrew helped us set that up, and I want to say it was still a place to stay, or it might have been Lesser Throws.
It was Lesser Throws.
I think it was Lester Throws because I don't recall being at that show.
You were there.
Was
there.
I?
Yeah,
Oh,
because I remember you smoking cigarettes on the porch and me chatting with you.
Oh my god! Why don't I remember that?
We've come to Kansas City so many times.
Yeah,
I don't expect
I
anybody.
think we ended up playing Aftershock a total of 3 or 4 times.
Really?
It's just 3, and the other 1 or 2.
Were the Rhino?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Rhino and Bottleneck were the other places
Oh, I
we
forgot
played.
about Bottleneck.
And we played Bubba Spins a handful of times. So
We want to try Davies Uptown sometime, maybe.
what was the one that just burned down?
I
Oh,
think it was Davies.
R.I.P. Never mind.
Yeah.
I think I don't have any confirmation on this because I'm not in touch with those kinds of people, but I think they do plan on like reopening eventually or opening a new location.
That would be tight.
Yeah, I mean, if they got insurance money before COVID-19 hit everyone and the money disappeared,
Yeah,
it would make it really easy to reopen compared to the venues that are just sitting around hemorrhaging money and waiting for things to work again.
Yeah, paying is with no income.
So,
Yeah.
where did we start with that?
Oh yeah, we did a
I
lot.
was asking about your tours.
Yeah, we did all those tours, and then we cooled off a little bit in comparison the next year where we did 100 days, but we did it over 12 months instead of like 8 months. So it was a lot easier to handle. We didn't do any 3-week tours that year. We shortened them down to 2 weeks because when you're DIY, that's just not manageable.
Yeah, when you're a DIY, if it's just too long to have too many risky shows where you're potentially not making enough money to cover your costs.
Yeah. So then, come last year, 2019, and we were prepping to put out Weak Bones. We're like, well, why don't we just book week-long tours, take a couple weeks off, do another week-long tour, a couple weeks off, another week-long tour, and hit each region? Because in Indiana, we can do a week in the Northeast, a week in the Southeast, a week down to like Texas, and then a week that covers like the Midwest.
And like Northwest of us a little. Minnesota and stuff. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Kansas City.
Yeah. And we also hadn't toured with a ton of other bands prior to that. And we decided we were doing each one with a band. And those tours, I mean, were the most professionally set up tours we'd done to date. And it was honestly probably our best collective tour experiences compared to last ones. Because when you have someone on the road with you, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
You go a little stir crazy hanging out with the same 3 people every day.
Yeah, we struggled to find bands to tour with that were going to at the very beginning that were going to like, one, put in any sort of work with help with booking, because that was like a way bigger task for the longest time for us. And we also couldn't find anyone that, if we found a band that was able to book or help book or had an agent, they weren't interested in us. And then all the other bands were like, we would just be doing them a huge favor by doing a ton of work and then potentially losing our split or gas money to them.
So we just had we just have some friends do a few days around their city, and that was the best way we could do it at the time.
Yeah, because they added enough value. And that was what we did. And then hopefully, after those tours that we started doing with other bands, we're at a point where we pretty much don't have to tour alone very much at all.
Yeah. So then after those release tours, Brandon got offered a gig doing front of house for a band called Remo Drive. So we took some time off and just waited to plan. We did a couple weekenders and then had a big tour set up for November of last year. That was going to be like, we were going to hit the Southeast, we were going to hit Texas, we were going to hit the Midwest. And it was a really nice setup tour.
Yeah, it was.
We booked it with Zeke Murphy of Arkham Agency, and at that time I had applied for a job at Artery Global, which is now Dynamic Talent. So we were able to make it way less DIY than we had in the past, where it was promoters that just wanted our bands. It wasn't us trying to get a promoter to listen to our bands so that way they might book us. It was send an email and they're like, yep, we want you. There were great regionals on that. Hollowed Out and Polterguts.
Yeah.
Just great guys, great bands.
Well, we were supposed to have...
Yeah, Deadland was supposed to do the tour, which is Zeke Murphy's band.
Yeah, unfortunately they
had to drop. Just internal issues and I think fan issues. So, yeah. And then we were prepping to hit the road again finally, and we'd been working on some tours. We were really excited for them. The COVID-19 hit, kind of a wash until.
Yeah, this past year had already been the past 6 to 8 months had been pretty minimalish kind of touring anyway. We did the November tour, like you said, but really that's been pretty much it. We've been laying off doing weekenders and stuff. The reason we were laying off that stuff is that we were planning to hopefully do more bigger support tours this year. And then coronavirus effed us all.
Yeah. So we're just gonna crank out content at home.
So look for new music instead, because that's about all we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, touring is a struggle. I know we did it one time with A Place to Stay where we wrote off a couple of your guys' dates with you.
Yeah, and then you had a couple of your own, right?
Yeah, and you are absolutely right when you say booking sucks. It's a nightmare. I think our last date was in Joplin, Missouri, and we ended up basically not doing it because I guess we didn't read into the information enough, and it was literally just some dude's basement. I don't know. It was sketchy, but touring is tough for sure for you guys, right? Because you just said you did it a lot, so
it flip-flops between. Well, early on, for sure, it flip-flopped between being the most depressing thing and being the most rewarding thing. As time went on, it became more rewarding more often. But even bigger bands now will play a show in a city and 10 people will come out, and the day before they had 100, bands on whatever label. It's a common thing. So it can be really hit or miss no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Cool. I guess that brings us to now, You guys said you're working on some new music, right? Some new singles.
We got 5 singles pretty much about ready.
Yeah, and we're talking about doing some live streams. We have some live recordings from a while ago that might surface. Just some fun stuff.
Yeah, we're kind of unsure of like when it's all going to come out, but we want it to be soon. We've been kind of quiet on social media for the most part. Uh, yeah, it's weird time in the world, but
Yeah.
For sure.
We think we might be able to tour at the end of the year, but that's still kind of up in the air.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, working at Dynamic, we have like a weekly or every other week update sometimes, and any larger band that's drawing even like 100 people a night are looking at 2021. And we're expecting a lot of DIY and small size venues to close. The big promoters, they don't have a whole lot of money, so everyone's guarantees are going to be smaller, or they're going to be door deals. When venues are supposed to reopen, they're only allowed to start at half capacity, which severely limits how much you can bring in for a band.
yeah,
So like, and even then, social distancing, people aren't going to want to go to shows as much, or at least some people won't, right? So we're going to see smaller turnouts, and if that's the difference between 20 and 40 paid, it kind of hurts, if you're on a door deal at the small level, which I think is pretty much where we would sit in a lot of weekdays and smaller markets that we haven't hit as much.
yeah. Also, if venues are only allowed to sell half capacity, but the venues have already been closed for so long, I doubt they're going to be giving super big breaks on their rental fees because they need the money too.
Yeah.
So they might still be charging a really high rental and only allowed to sell half the room. So then the bands, even if they sell out half the room, they probably don't have a very big potential to make a lot of money because the venue's still going to take a healthy cut.
Yeah.
Trying to recover from months and months of no events or income at all.
Yeah, so you might see local and DIY stuff towards the end of the year, but I think everything else is pretty much set for 2021.
Yeah, it's kind of sad to think that we're not even really into summer right now, and we've already just like the whole year's shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty depressing. Let's talk about your recording process. We haven't really touched up on that yet. I want to know what it's like, man, because you guys got your own studio, right?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, we don't do it the way we should, but we're trying to change that.
Yeah, we're gonna try and change that. I think moving forward, because we are about to start recording some new stuff. I don't think we're announcing or talking about it yet. Sorry, Dane. But
That's okay.
The process has always been for us like come in, sit down, record guitar. Like it'll just be me and Colin, maybe Wes, sit down and we'll like record a bunch of guitars to a demo. Oh, I guess I should start with the demo phase. So we start with a demo. Colin writes something at home by himself with his guitar into his interface, and he records into Logic. He'll write some like fake drums to get the idea out. Then he sends it to me. Then I edit the drums, make them a little bit better, make them sound better, and then we'll basically keep demoing, crappy DI guitars and writing MIDI fake drums until we're like, okay, that's the song, that's what we want. And then at that point, we'll usually start recording real instruments, and it's usually guitars first or bass first. So we'll record guitar and bass, still to the fake drums, and then I will go and record real drums. And this is all over like weeks at a time. We never do all of this in one day. I think that's a big.
They'll do guitars in one day, and bass in one day, and drums in one day, but there's a week in between.
Yeah, there's a week or more in between because like we'll say we do guitars one day. It's like, okay, well, I'm having a band to come that's like hiring me to record their EP all next weekend. So then we're taking 2 weeks off, and then we're doing bass and stuff. And it's like it kind of disconnects the project, and it draws it out, which one is just like not very efficient with our time, but two, it for me, who I spend the most time listening to these songs already, it almost kind of draws it out to a point where I not lose interest, but I'm just not as excited about the project. And I mean, I'm always excited about our music and new stuff, but like it just makes it harder to mix if I've already heard it a bunch of times. So, yeah, we drag that out, and then we start doing vocals. And vocals, we'll do one song one day, maybe, or two songs in a day, and then Adam will come back a week later, and he's like, "Oh, I want to redo that first song we did," and then we'll also work on one we haven't done yet. And it's basically the same thing all over again. And then once Adam's done, then he's like, "Well, we need to have Colin and Wes come in because we've got all these parts for them to record." So it's like, okay, next weekend we'll do that, or maybe Wednesday of next week someone's going to be off work early, so we can record then. Like, we just really spread it out, which in a way is nice because it doesn't hurt our work schedules and stuff. But for the future, we're going to still demo the way we've always demoed, but for recording, I think we're just going to do it like everyone's doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday. Commit your entire weekend, get here in the morning, leave late at night, and just record. Everyone's a part of the project. It's an all-day thing because there's going to be a lot more ideas, and everyone's going to be in agreement on stuff. Because there will be times where we write a guitar part, Adam's writing vocals on the demo. He doesn't come in to watch us record guitar because, it's just a full day of him sitting there doing nothing. And then Colin and I will be like, "Oh, we should change this part." And then Adam hears it after he's already wrote vocals for a different part. And he's like, "Oh, well, my vocal part doesn't fit here anymore." Like, I don't know. We just want to try and make it a big group effort like a normal band records. Because I'll have bands that will come to me. They'll drive from sometimes even out of state, and they're just like, "Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're living at your house. We're making this EP." And I love that process. And it keeps me really motivated. And I think a lot of times it ends up sounding better. And I think that's just my ears, potentially, keeping a project fresh.
We do a lot of music first, vocal second thing. So we never demo the vocals until it's on the actual recorded guitars and drums.
Yeah.
And that's how we did it with the album. And I think it made it so more often we will say, okay, let's just let this cool musical part breathe instead of trying to do a cool vocal part. And we're kind of changing that to an extent with these new singles and what we're doing next.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be, it's the same thing with any vocalist. They can get through a couple songs a day. But most vocalists that yell and are trying to put out the best possible, voicing and phrasing, and they track for a few days. So we're going to have to figure out how to make that work in that process still without dragging it out, because I think we spent maybe 3 months on vocals for the record, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's purely just like dragging it out. If we, didn't have crazy work schedules and Adam could have just came over like to my house to like just work for like 4 to 6 hours a day, it probably would have been done in a week or so. But it's just like, yeah, I think we've just learned that we need to be able to commit time. We spend so much time focusing on like, we all have to work our personal jobs as much as possible, like literally every hour matters, so that we can tour like crazy. And now we've kind of realized like, hey, let's actually put a little bit more time into the production, and it's going to make a big difference. So that's the future of the recording process for us. I guess that's the whole history of the recording process for us and what we want to do in the future to make it better.
Mm-hmm. Is there any like song or anything that like you had like the most trouble with, or kind of getting down in the recording process?
I mean, okay, well, let's not talk about stuff that's not out.
Yeah.
Stuff that is out. There's a song on, well, everything Colin writes, he approaches me. He's like, "Okay, I wrote this song. It's in a 12/8 time signature for like 3 sections of the song, and then the rest of the song is going to be in 5/4, and then there's a little bit of 4/4. Well, traditional rock's all 4/4. Most metal bands just play in 4/4. And Colin comes out with these crazy time signatures and tempo changes, and he's like, "I want all these drum parts to be syncopated in odd meters." And I'm just like, he will present me a song, and I'm like, there is no way I can play this. I'm just not good enough at drums. I'm not You know, I've spent the last 3 years of my life focusing on production and playing in a band, but not ever getting better at my instrument, which is my own fault. But he will bring me these songs, and I personally am just like, I cannot play these. And for the most part, I ended up teaching myself how to play them, and that is probably my biggest challenge. I think, which song was it that I had the hardest?
Was it Hypocrite?
No, it was Ghost.
Really?
I think that song Ghost is weird. It's got a lot of syncopation. Hypocrite, the song Hypocrite, that's got a lot of really weird and odd times in it. That song changes time signature more than any other song we've ever written. It's like 50 times, no exaggeration. It changes its time signature because it's a lot of measures that are just, this is a measure of 3, followed by a measure of 4, followed by a measure of 5, followed by a measure of 7, and just weird stuff that you wouldn't know listening to the song because it doesn't sound super weird. That one's just really hard to play live because it's, for the drum part, it's just pedal to the metal nonstop, and it's a longer song.
Yeah, and it's surprisingly not. It wasn't the hardest one to record just because we'd been playing a version of it for
so long.
like two years or something.
Yeah. But Ghost, I remember just being like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be able to play this. And even while we were recording it, I was still struggling and barely able to get it out.
Yeah.
But then after that, you know, recording session, I'm just way more on top of it. So that's another failure of our recording techniques is a lot of the songs I wrote the MIDI drums to, and I never even tried playing them until the day we record them. Which sounds completely stupid, and so many people in bands, if they heard that, would be like, oh my god, what an idiot. And they're right. That is stupid. But, again, it just goes back to, like, mismanagement of everyone's time or not making time. I mean, that's personally my own fault as well. But you can ask my band, like, or anyone that lived in my parents' house, like, there will be months at a time where I don't even have a drum set up in the house because I don't have space to set one up, and then I'll keep having bands come over to record, so we just set up their drum sets and stuff and record, and I just don't even pull mine out to practice because we'll spend so much time on the road that the drum set just goes straight up into the trailer. We go on tour, I play every day, and then I load it right back down to the basement, don't even set it up because half the time it's like 2 weeks later we're going on another tour. So I got out of the habit of working on drums. So our next recordings, I want to have some rehearsal in on my own before we go to record, just to save some time. And also, I have to edit all my own drums, and I absolutely hate editing a bad drummer. So you can imagine how much I hate editing my own drums on songs that I know that I just couldn't play well yet. So.
Yeah, I struggle with anything Colin writes in a wacky time signature because it's in a wacky time signature and I want to count it in 4. Yeah. It's gotten better over time after so much constant exposure to his whacked up shit. It comes a little more naturally, and you learn a few things you can do that kind of solve the problem. Like, instead of trying to write a bunch of words and cram it over this riff that's in 7/8, you just write like 3 words and you hold out the 3rd word until you hear that drum beat signaling that it's about to restart on the next measure, and you go, okay, now I can do my next words. And it's basically my way of getting around counting.
Yeah, it's we just blame Colin for all of the things that made writing music hard, because he just brings us these crazy time signatures, and we're like, wow, this sounds really cool. And then you break it down, and you're like, how am I going to write drums or vocals to this? And it's just like, ugh, what a headache. But, you know, it's worth it in the end because the music sounds really cool. And it makes us unique. There's a ton of metalcore bands out there that do a lot of odd meter and stuff. But it's in the hardcore world, like especially the modern hardcore scene, there are hardly any bands that stray away from 4/4 and just straight up riffs. Like, I mean, a lot of people are following a formula, and I think Colin challenges us to not do that. So we appreciate the challenge.
Yeah,
it sets us apart.
And I guess an additional challenge is it wasn't necessarily intentional, but we just started writing music that doesn't repeat.
Yeah.
Or if it repeats, it does something weird in a music theory.
It's in retrograde.
Yeah.
Or something weird. Yeah. What are the? It's called through composure. I think Colin's a music theory whiz. So is Wes, but
yeah.
I think it's called through composure, where nothing in the song ever happens twice. Not like maybe you'll have a verse where you repeat a riff 4 times, but that's the only time it's in the whole song. Or the song doesn't repeat itself, and it's kind of interesting and weird, but it's cool because a lot of bands will rehash riffs or bring them back in a song. It makes the song feel longer, or it makes the song longer, but it's not making it more unique. And Colin's kind of worked weird ways around that, or he'll play things in retrograde or reverse, so they musically will hint back to a part at the beginning of the song without replaying it. It's super weird. He puts so much thought into it, and I don't even think many people that listen to our music catch up on it, but that's okay because he knows it's in there, and we know it's in there, and it's cool to us.
Yeah, but it does mean we have to write tons and tons of lyrics because we can't just repeat a chorus 3 times.
Yeah.
And we have to do it all over odd time signatures. So the first rendition of a vocal take, the reason why I come back and redo them is I'm like, well, that sounds stupid now that I hear it out loud, and I can't, I can't just, it's all got to be unique. It's a long process.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. That was a lot. I'm still processing. Yeah. So you do all of recording, mixing, mastering, all in-house, all on your own.
Yep. I mix and master everything. I've considered paying someone to master, and then I'm like, screw it, we're this far. And also, if we paid someone to master, it would just be like more money out of our pockets that we could have put towards marketing. Also, in the hardcore community, while some of our recordings may not be that great, there are bands doing far better than us with far worse recordings. So, whatever. I'm not trying to make excuses for where I need to improve. I'm always getting better at mixing and whatnot. But
yeah, I think this new mix is the most leveled out in the mastering sense. That's going to do the best out of the bunch.
Yeah, but
just on that end,
everything's done in house. We also run a guitar track live on stage. We figured all that out. We make all our own tracks. We've designed. I with the help of Colin and Wes, have pretty much designed, wired, customized everyone's rigs that we play with live. All of our gear's been, mounted and ran custom ways so that we can literally set up on stage in the least amount of time and be integrated in any venue with multiple different configurations, like in seconds. So I'm really proud of all that stuff. It's kind of nerdy stuff, but it makes our setup and tear down super fast. All weird things that I think a lot of bands don't put enough time into, or maybe we're just weird and find it more important than we should. But yeah, we do everything ourselves. I can't hardly think of anything the only thing we've really ever paid someone else to do was press. We hired a publicist for our last album.
Oh, and designers.
Oh yeah, we aren't capable of
graphic design or
in-depth
art.
We can do basic. Adam's got basic graphic design. He does our tour flyers and stuff, but any artwork on them and whatnot is not us. We work with artists to do that, but everything else we do in-house. We have, I guess t-shirt printing we'll outsource for that, but there's actually something we've talked about doing ourselves in the future moving forward. We'll see. It's a lot of time.
Yep.
But we're all stuck inside and can't go on tour anyway, so maybe we'll have the time to actually do all the things we've talked about.
Is it one person that does all of the lyrics, or do each kind of contribute, or is it a specific person each time, or does it depend?
Yeah, so I do probably maybe a little more than half. Colin takes up a hefty amount of that remaining. Wes has done one song in the past. He's doing another one now. Brandon did one way back in the day, and he'll have input on other ones. But
Yeah.
as a majority, it's mostly Colin and I. And usually you can tell. I mean, I think it's pretty distinct styles between the two of us, and we'll collaborate on some songs. But like Suffer's a Colin track. And then Leech is a track I did. I usually, if he's got a song that has a decent amount of 4/4, I try to take it because it's going to be something I can do.
Yeah.
Colin does really interesting, and I think parts that sound hard AF for breakdowns. So if we're collaborating, I like to give him some leeway to do whatever he's feeling there. But you know, there's a decent amount lyrically done by Colin that is pretty distinct to his voice. I think I use a lot of like focus on I and you as persons, and Colin focus more on I as in him, but you as in an establishment or something.
Or group or something.
Yeah. I think we just have different topics we gravitate towards because of our backgrounds.
Yeah, but they'll all do lyrics, and then when we go to record, I don't really come up with lyrics for the most part, and it's become less and less this way as they've all got better at writing. But I just critique, you know, oh, this word needs to be held out, or oh, you know, that's a cool part, but Colin should probably do that part, or you know. So I think I kind of almost am like a final checkpoint for vocal parts before they, you know, get finalized. And of course, we all review everything as a band and make decisions. But I find less and less that I'm making a ton of big changes to their vocal parts, like I was in the past, like helping rewrite lines. Now I'm hardly doing that at all now because Adam and Colin have both gotten better at writing their parts to a point where they come to me with ideas that are already finished and make more sense. Whereas before it was like, I've got most of this song written, but these lines don't fit. And it's like, okay, we have to make those fit then. But yeah, I don't do as much as I used to, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's nice that like we might debate and argue a part.
Yeah.
But for the most part, there's not really egos involved with that sort of thing. If a part doesn't work, everyone's telling you it doesn't work, you go find and you find a way to make something else work. So that's really nice. And having three distinct voices is kind of fun when you write some parts lyrically, because you can have those vocalists represent different people in a conversation.
Yeah.
Which is the idea that started, I think, with a track we did called 16 Pounds, way back on Short Lived, which is a bass and drums only track with Colin and me both doing vocal parts the entire time. And it's only 30 seconds long, but it's supposed to be two distinct people arguing a point from the other side. And I kind of took that idea and I apply it to a lot of the other lyrics I write, in the sense that if we're going to have a back and forth part, it should be back and forth communication between two people, because I think perspective is nice, and it can really lend to the, you know, the story or the experience of the song.
Yeah. That 16 Pounds is another one that, sorry to go off topic, but that's another song that's old, but when we do play it in a place that people know it, it's really cool to have all the energy, because that song is so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And is there, I guess, out of everything that you guys have out right now, anything that either both of you or either of you musically or lyrically kind of resonate the most with? Anything that's kind of like, maybe has like a little bit more personal touch than the rest of them?
Um, I think "Suffer" for Colin would be one. Um, for me, I mean, I get emotional sometimes towards the end of "Blind," which is on Short Lived, because it's a pretty personal track about um, uh, a friend of mine. But I think that's the track that hits me the most when we play it live. Um, there are songs that have messages I really enjoy, but they don't particularly get me going, and that might be because um, it's kind of detached in the moment of performing.
None of the songs for me, because I didn't write the vocal, or I didn't write the lyrics based off of an experience or anything, or I didn't write them at all. They don't really like necessarily touch me or make me feel in the way. Yeah, thanks, Adam, for touching me. And for those of you that can't see, 'cause it's a podcast, Adam just gave me a good old touch. Um, professional touch. But none of the songs really like speak to me super personally. But there is a new song we're working on that I really like. I mean, I really like a lot of the messages and lyrics that the band comes up with, even though they're not my personal ones. But they're people I know well, coming up with them. So I do enjoy and connect with a lot of the songs, even though they're not personally my experiences. But there's some new ones. I don't know the name, what they're going to be called yet, but some of the singles we're working on right now already have some pretty cool parts to them. What's the one? I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but there's one that's like kind of about that Adam's working on. That's about being in a band, kind of in a way.
Yeah.
And facing like what other people think of that, essentially. And Adam can speak more to it, but that I think is something that anyone in a band can relate to.
Yeah. That's kind of like the overarching concept as far as my perspective, but I kind of took that song and like how people view that and said, well, I don't want it to just be about being in a band. It's about pursuing whatever you're passionate about and people kind of treating it as a joke if they're not involved in that community.
Yeah.
So like, your parents who aren't a part of the hardcore scene and how they view, that community, which, is a community you spend a lot of time with, and you have all these friends you really get to know, and they just kind of think of it as this weird thing that you do, and they they kind of pass over it in a conversation to talk about your day job, and it's like, that's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
It goes more in depth, but that's kind of the outline. When it comes out, I think you'll be able to get out of it what I'm hoping people get out of it.
Yeah, but just like when we were going through recording vocals for that song, I was like, I hadn't heard the lyrics yet. I was like, this is really awesome, and I can relate to it well, and I think almost anyone in a band, especially a band that's like still grinding and up and coming or newer, could totally relate to, and potentially in totally different other interests as well. Just not even being in a band, any other personal hobbies someone might have.
Yeah, I fucking apply it to your Yu-Gi-Oh cards if that's what you're passionate about. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to keep it not universal, because I want it to be personalized, but applicable. I guess that would be a good term.
Man, it's just kind of good to talk to you guys. You guys have a lot to say, and it's super awesome. I don't think, even out of all the years that I've known you guys, I don't think I've ever really gotten the chance to ask these kind of questions before. So it's super awesome.
I wish more people would ask some of these questions, because
yeah,
I you want to walk away from a show where someone says, I really like your music. You want to understand why they like it.
Yeah.
Like, do they just think our parts are cool, or are they relating to this or that, you know? And either one's fine. I'm not going to judge what part of the music they like, but
Yeah.
I like to share. I like to talk about myself.
Mhm. Yeah, and I got the opportunity, I think, last year to go actually see you guys play in your hometown in Indianapolis, and
Yeah.
that was awesome. You know, it's a whole, maybe not completely different vibe from Kansas City, but you can tell that a lot of people at that show are there for, you guys.
Yeah. It truly, I mean, Indy versus KC is totally different vibe. Also, Indy 3 years ago compared to KC 3 years ago. I mean, I've seen a big change in both scenes.
Yeah.
Both have gotten weird in a way.
Yeah, and we were pleasantly surprised by the turnout at that Indianapolis show,
Yeah.
because we do better in Cincinnati. That's just something that started to pull up throughout the years.
We do better in Kansas City
Sometimes.
sometimes.
Yeah, but that particular Indianapolis show was one where we actually felt pretty good. It's the longest set we've ever played.
Yeah.
Which was wild to
Forgot
try.
about that.
Yeah.
Because that was the Weak Bones release show, wasn't it?
Yeah, we played the record all the way through, and then we played a few songs off of Short Lived, and then we also did that 70s themes show.
Theme song.
Yeah, we did that as our sound check, and we played a breakdown from Friends and Family, which was that old song only on Bandcamp. We just did the breakdown because it's the coolest part of the song, and it was our outro, like little encore sort of thing.
Yeah, that was fun and weird. Was that we retired those songs at a different show?
Retired which song? Are you thinking of the old stuff? No,
Yeah.
we retired that in a basement.
Oh, either way, whatever. But yeah, that indie show, that was at the Hoosier Dome. That was a good show.
Yeah, and it's super cool, like just seeing. Cause I'm from Kansas City, you guys are from Indianapolis, so I've seen you guys here tons and tons and tons of times, and it's super cool each time. It's like, people like you guys, people care, and it's you can almost kind of see the growth that the band has had outside of Indianapolis, and it's super cool to see that in Indianapolis as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we've definitely seen some growth in Kansas City.
What's nice about playing Kansas City is we played it so many times that when we do play a show, a third of the people there are friends. The next third are people we at least know by name and like as people, right? Yeah. And then the final third are maybe some new people that are just checking us out for the first time, or we just haven't talked to in person yet. And so it's like a giant hangout sesh. It's one of the funnest places to play because of that.
Yeah. Last time we played Kansas City, we played Lawrence recently, which is outside of KC, and it's hard to get people to drive out there. But we actually ended up having a really cool, like, a new person that had found us online or something that showed up to that show. Do you remember where he was from?
Yeah, I mean, he was from the area.
Yeah, totally new person. And, like, I don't know, it's just cool to always have that in Kansas City, like, or really any city, it's just new people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kansas City's cool. Lots of markets are, it's just interesting to see the growth too from both.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys have come a long way.
We should be here. Well, okay, so they said they were gonna come at 1:30. It's 1:28, and by how well I know them, Wes will be here in probably 2 minutes, and Colin will be here in 40 minutes.
Okay.
And he'll have some crazy story.
So we're safe from Colin.
Well, I don't ever assume you're fully safe from Colin.
I've learned that lesson.
You'd have to be
so many times.
You'd have to be a fool to think you were safe from Colin.
That's awesome. If there was any song that you guys have out right now that you absolutely want people to listen to, which one would it be?
It seems like the one that gets people going is Leech, right? But the song I personally probably would want them to listen to because I think it's a really cool track would be Seasons, because it's a unique track for us on the record, but it does what it does very well, and it's one of the very few tracks we sing on, which isn't necessarily the reason why I want people to listen to it. I just think it's a really cool track, and that one was one that Colin, he had a riff from that's like 10 years old, and from one of his prior bands that he reworked, and then he wrote this big, like, Taking Back Sunday, 3 vocalists going at once outro, that I just think is super cool and fun.
I think for me, like, if I could get people to like check one thing out, I would want them to go watch the music video for Leech. That was probably one of the most. It's a live music video of us playing in Cincinnati. That was probably one of the most fun sets I've ever played in my entire life. And 2, I think the video just turned out really well, and I love the song. It's got a lot of cool parts to it. But another song that I think for us, I really enjoy musically would possibly be Ghosts, maybe.
Yeah.
Seasons is cool too. Hey, I predicted Wes would be here in 2 minutes, and I was right.
He's exactly on time.
Exactly 2 minutes. That's awesome.
He did not tell us he was on the way. Nothing. I swear, totally real.
Proud of you.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's it for my real questions. My real questions are done. Do you have anything you guys want to talk about? You guys want to talk about anything at all for your new stuff or old stuff or how your day was or was that?
I'm mostly curious to what a fake question is. If those were the real.
Know. Oh, I mean, I don't know. I could ask you like what your favorite type of cheese is, I guess.
All of them.
Yellow.
Melted over chips.
Yellow cheese. Wait. Soft yellow.
I really like a Mexican restaurant that can do their queso right, homemade style. What? Yeah, not from Kokomo, Indiana. Oof. Anyway, I'm
not a very cheesy man.
If there's anything, I mean, basically, like, just check out the new singles we're working on, and then we have like a release/project endeavor we're about to be getting into. That we're not going to talk about too much yet, but look out for that.
Do you have basically like an idea of when your first single might be coming out?
We're actually going to be setting that stone today. Hopefully a month
or 2 at the worst.
Absolute worst, it would be 2 months. But I think if we have our way, it'll be much closer to a month.
Hopefully this will be out before that.
Okay.
Hopefully. Yeah, that's it. It was really nice talking to you guys. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I'm sure. I would hope that you had a good time talking to me. I mean, I'm awesome, so whatever.
Yeah, you are awesome. Where can people find you guys at?
Just go to Spotify or YouTube if you want to check out a music video. And then for social media, Instagram or Facebook are the preferred methods.
Also, we did just make a TikTok, Pickwick Commons TikTok. It's kind of a slow start. I've already got like 3 videos up, and one of them they flagged the audio. Actually, I did post another one. It had Colin's butt in it, and they flagged that within like an hour. So I guess you can't have butts on TikTok. But we're still gonna make our TikTok funny, and it'll really kick up to full speed once we're allowed to tour again. Because
that's when the dumb things happen.
Yeah, basically, if you can record Colin as much as possible, you've got endless viral content. So, yeah. Instagram and Facebook, though, for anything serious if you want to follow us, know when we're coming to town, releasing the music. And then TikTok is going to be our own personal meme page. So check that out too.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for that too. Adam, Brandon, thanks for coming out and talking to me.
Of course. Having us.
Thanks, Wes, for staying quiet in the background.
Yeah, Wes.
He's waving.
It's great talking to you guys. I'm looking forward to everything you guys got coming up, and hopefully shit clears up pretty quick and you guys can hit the road.
Hopefully.
You know?
As soon as we're allowed to do something, we'll say this. As soon as we're allowed to go out and play shows, like actually, we're going to do something. It'll be small. It'll be like Midwest only. And it won't be crazy. But it'll just be something for us to get out and like be like, hey, we're still alive. Thank you, Wes. Get out and stretch the legs.
See you, Dane.
Yeah. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
And that was it for our episode with Adam and Brandon from Pickwick Commons. Be sure to check them out. Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok apparently. Keep your eye out for any new music coming this month from them or any kind of news. And stick around to the end to hear their song Seasons off of their latest release, Weak Bones.
From the inside! I swear to God I'll take this with me to my deathbed! I must forget!